Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chowda and welcome to this important episode of Ignition Time. Folks, there's some new research that suggests that 73% of the stimulus checks that are proposed to be sent out under the American Rescue Plan, the massive $1.9 trillion rescue package from President Biden, 73% of them will go towards savings and will not be spent on the economy. Now, this is extremely significant for two reasons. Number one, this will allow Republicans to make the case that this is an unnecessary measure. Now, don't blame the messenger. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm simply giving you data. And number two, the bigger problem is that this may not rejuvenate the economy to the extent that the economists and to the extent that the Biden administration actually wants. Because keep in mind, the way an economy grows is when there are more transactions and essentially when people buy more and people do more number of transactions. Fundamentally, when people buy something, that's considered a transaction. If they spend more money, that's considered a larger transaction. Fundamentally, an economy grows when there are more transactions and when there are larger transactions. If you buy something from McDonald's, that's a transaction. If you buy an expensive meal, that's considered a larger transaction. All of these things essentially allow money to go from point A to point B. Let's take a close look at what a transaction actually means, and then I'll dig deeper into this 73% number and where it came from. Make sure you watch this video all the way through to the end because I'll help you understand the actual impact of the stimulus on the economy. But first, let's hear from hedge fund manager Ray Dalio, who talks about the importance of transactions in an economy and how an economy works. Let's take a look at this incredible segment, and we'll provide you with the link to the entire video from Ray Dalio in the description section below so you can understand how the economic engine of our country works. Let's roll the tape and understand the importance of transactions, and then I'll talk to you about how that relates to the next stimulus check. Let's roll the tape and let's watch.
An economy is simply the sum of the transactions that make it up, and a transaction is a very simple thing. You make transactions all the time. Every time you buy something, you create a transaction. Each transaction consists of a buyer exchanging money or credit with a seller for goods, services, or financial assets. Credit spends just like money, so adding together the money spent and the amount of credit spent, you can know the total spending. The total amount of spending drives the economy. If you divide the amount spent by the quantity sold, you get the price. And that's it. That's a transaction. It's the building block of the economic machine. All cycles and all forces in an economy are driven by transactions. So, if we can understand transactions, we can understand the whole economy.
So hopefully you folks didn't fall asleep. That was a quick economics lesson. Folks, here's an article on your screen that was published by The Hill that reads 73% of Biden's proposed stimulus checks would go to savings. Folks, this was new analysis that was published by the Penn Wharton Budget Model, a well-known research provider. And what's interesting is that the remaining 27% would go towards increased consumption, meaning the remaining 27% would go towards transactions. People would spend it, and that money would then make its way through the economy. Remember, money has to essentially circulate through the economy for an economy to grow. So folks, John Rico, who is a senior analyst at PWBM, said that they analyzed how people in different income brackets would be likely to spend the additional money and the chances, the propensity for households to spend the money that they would receive. And here's what he said. At this point in the pandemic, we find that there is a lot of additional money flowing into households that don't necessarily have the ability to spend that on additional goods and services. So folks, let's understand that the $1.9 trillion stimulus package from President Biden actually includes not just $1,400 stimulus checks, but also a child tax credit and earned income tax credit. And what these researchers found is that 99% of households in the bottom 80% of income, in other words, individuals who need help the most, would receive aid, and those in the bottom 40% would receive an average benefit of right around $3,000. So there's going to be a lot of good done with this, but there's also going to be a situation where a lot of the money is not going to be spent. Let's take a look at a segment from CNBC from this morning where they dig a little deeper into the fact that a lot of this money, 73% of the money, would go towards savings, which is not necessarily the best outcome that you want from this stimulus. So let's roll the tape and hear from CNBC.
Joe, the bottom line in this report is that almost everybody would get some money from Uncle Sam under President Biden's plan, but that could actually become political politically problematic. The nonpartisan Penn Wharton budget model took a look today at three of the main components of direct relief in this proposal: the $1,400 stimulus checks and expansions of the child tax credit and earned income tax credit. Now, the lowest income households would get a major boost under this plan. 100% of them are expected to qualify for benefits, and the average amount would be $2,505. That's more than a 50% increase in after-tax income. But high-income households would actually see a bigger benefit in dollar terms. The Penn Wharton model estimates that about a third of families in the top 95 to 99% of income would still get thousands of dollars. Their projected average is $4,265, though that only represents a 0.5% increase in income. So this is one of the reasons why the analysis finds that the majority of that $1,400 stimulus check, about 73% of the amount, would actually go into savings rather than going to boost the economy. So while these stimulus checks are enormously popular with the public, this analysis appears to bolster the argument from Republicans that President Biden's proposal is overly broad and not really targeted to those who need help the most.
So that's it, everyone. Important comments about where the stimulus money is likely to go. Let me know what you're likely to do with the stimulus money, and let me know whether a more targeted approach makes more sense. Because if the money can go to those who need it the most, boosting consumption while reducing the probability of that money just going into a savings account. Because remember, if the money goes into a savings account, it's not helping the economy. It's not circulating. It's not essentially creating income for other businesses and creating jobs for other businesses, which is how economies grow, which is how we were prior to the pandemic. More targeting will lead to more consumption because the money will go to those who need it the most. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know in the comment section below. If you learned something new from this video, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I would really, really appreciate that. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time.